So you have to like explain what common sense is? Really?
Common sense is not running the hallway if you don't want to fall. Common sense is not running in the hallway so you don't fall.
My idea of common sense is to know what's right from wrong. If you see something going on that's wrong, you should know that it's something wrong.
In the library, common sense is being quiet and respectful of others while they're reading.
Common sense is covering your book so it won't get wet.
Common sense is walk on the red and green arrows because if you don't, you might get hurt.
Common sense to me is making sure that you dress appropriately for the weather. So always take a look outside or maybe step outside before you leave your house and make sure you're wearing the appropriate clothing.
Common sense is not to pet a wild animal. You do. Common sense means to not eat with your hands. Common sense means do not chew with your mouth open. Common sense do not push nobody. Common sense is don't stand on the table or else you'll fall. Common sense means you always have to be safe. Stay in line and listen to your teacher. Common sense is when you think before you say something. Like if I was gonna say something and it could hurt someone's feelings, you just stop and don't say it.
Common sense is like you are standing by this in the hallways going, okay, I want to jump in this puddle, but then my shoes and my socks will be all wet for all day. Then I'll be walking around in wet shoes and socks. So, and that's your common sense. Your brain saying, no, I don't want to do this.
Sense is when you don't talk back to the teacher when he or she says you have to do this, you don't say no, or you have to say okay, teacher.
Common sense is when you stop and think about what you're gonna say, and when somebody's hurt, you have to say, "Are you okay?" or help them get up.
Common sense is when you say thank you to someone when they help you. Common sense is when you know to be mature and not say nasty things about other people or yourself.
Sense needs to be reasonable.
Common sense means to not jump in puddles.
Common sense means to look both ways before you cross the street.
Common sense is remembering to wash your hands after you use the bathroom.
Common sense is sit the right way in your chair so you don't fall out.
Common sense is do not throw things at people.
Common sense is don't throw trash around but throw it in a trash can. Common sense is to not push people. Common sense is don't step in puddles.
Common sense is not going under the dripping roofs. Common sense is walking in the hallways because it's slippery. Common sense is when you put boots when there's puddles. Common sense is when you don't go down the wet slide.
Common sense is wear your glasses if you can't see.
Common sense is something to not jump in the puddle.
Common sense is be careful when you run.
Common sense is wear a jacket when it's cold and don't jump in puddles because you could get wet and you don't want to get wet.
Common sense is using good judgment. For example, you're not going to walk out into traffic without looking both ways.
Common sense is treating others how you would like them to treat you.
Common sense is when you make a good decision. For example, right now that it's raining, common sense would tell me not to put my feet in the puddles because they're going to get wet and I might even get sick that way. So always use common sense, make good choices and good decisions. Freeman Falcons.
Common sense is be aware of your surroundings.
Common sense means don't do what everybody else is doing. If your friends jump off a cliff, would you jump after them?
Common sense is make sure to put away something when you're done with it, and also, a very important one, make sure to flush after you go to the bathroom.
Common sense is truth.